Hey guys, welcome to another Shane Talks podcast. It's been a while since I put one out, so welcome back for those of you who are listening, those 16 audience members that I have, welcome back. I wanted to get on here today and just break the cycle of inactivity, break the cycle of procrastination, the fear of getting behind the camera again, the fear of putting my voice out on the air there. It was a lot of stuff that was stopping me from producing this stuff, and it was the fact that I wasn't sure if what I was doing had any impact not only to the world around me but to myself. Was it what I wanted to do? Was it something I needed to do? Was it worth the 2 to 3 hours of my time each week to be able to produce this stuff? And the universe gave me a few signs that if I wasn't paying attention to, I would have missed. The first one was a few people come up to me and actually asked about the podcast, said that they'd been listening to some stuff that I had done and that I was able to articulate a lot of things that they were thinking but could not communicate, and it was really good and refreshing to hear these Shane Talks podcasts so that they could understand what it was in their minds and in their bodies that they were feeling because of the conversations I was having with myself. That reminded me that this really is not about production and producing some sort of award-winning content. It is literally about sorting my own life out day after day and recording it and sharing that with the world. Because if someone watches it and feels like it helped them a little bit, that was the reason I started doing this stuff. I put my voice into the speakers that you're listening through simply so that you can hear the things that I'm talking to myself about, the things that are going through my mind, the things that I'm struggling with, the challenges that I have daily. Life is hard, and if I'm talking about how hard it is, but the solutions that I'm implementing to help make that hard life easier, then hopefully that's beneficial to someone listening. That's the reason. And so the universe gave me these signals and signs. They gave me some time. They cleared up some space in my mind. I got some references back from others who were trying to listen to the things I was putting out but realized I wasn't and asked me about it. So the messages to get back on here and start doing it again were there, but I just had to tune into that. And so finally I've tuned into it. And today I had the opportunity to miss the podcasting time, to miss this situation right now, to not be prepared and open for this opportunity. And I decided to not turn it down, not miss it, not push it behind me, but to get out in front of the camera, although I have very limited battery left, try and get a podcast done as soon as I can and get back into the groove of one chat to myself a week, one conversation to myself a week. And with that in mind, today I actually been asking myself a question, and it's been there probably because of the situation we're all in, which is this pandemic, this fear and looming death, this mortality thing. Like, if you get sick, will you survive? And, how are you going to get through? And this subliminal message of just doom and gloom. And I asked myself, Shane, yes, it's sad if I was to die. But I asked myself this question: do you want to live forever? And the easy answer is yes, I want to live forever because I want to see my little girl grow up. I want to experience a full life with my wife and my friends and my family, and I want to experience life to its fullest, and I don't want to have a restricted amount of time to do that. And then I thought to myself, although that's what I want, would that be what I get if I did live forever? Or is there some sort of magic in the fact that we have this fragility of life, that there is a moment that we will all leave the earth? Yes, the answer is yes, there is. There is some magic in that. And the fact that we will die, the fact that we will not be here forever, is where the magic is. And we have to remind ourselves that, and I don't want to be afraid of that. Yes, it would be incredibly sad to know that, I have a due date. We all have a due date. Like a loaf of bread. We all have a date that we will no longer be great. We will no longer be here. Yes, that is sad to think about, but if we focus on that date, if we focus on that moment, if we focus on that emotion, then we can get caught up into doing nothing with our life and get paralyzed in fear. And yet I need to remember myself, although I will not live forever, and though I don't want to live forever because I need to utilize and tap into the magic of the fact that there will be a time where I will no longer be here, I need to remember that it's important to die. It's important to pass away. It's important to move on. It's not all bad. It's not all doom and gloom. It's sad for those around you who lose you. It's sad that you will no longer get to experience this beautiful life that we live in. But you've got to remember that the fact that we are going to pass away, there is a magic in it. And the magic is that you get to experience urgency, love. You get to experience, your accomplishments, other people's accomplishments. If you were to live forever, all of that stuff would have less of an impact on you. It would have less of a contrast. There would be less to experience if you knew you were going to live forever, if there was no date that you would pass away. And the fact that I'm going to one day die, the fact that I am one day not going to be here, means that I have a lot to do, means that I have a lot to say, means that I have a lot to experience, and I need to try and get as much of that in as I possibly can in my day-to-day life. And I need to remember that the people I have conversations with, I might not get to have another conversation with those people, whether it be me or them that passes away. I might not get to let people know how I feel about them. I might not get to let the people around me understand my story and my views on life and the world. I might not get to teach people around me. So I've got to have that due date that I, in the back of my mind, wake up thinking about, because for me, I think about it almost every single day. I'll wake up, and I know that sounds gloomy a little bit, like, whoa, Shane, that's pretty heavy. Every day you think that you might not be here. I can't tell you why I do it. I can't tell you if it's anxiety driven, like I'm anxious and worried and that stuff gets to me and I start to think too much about life and death. But at the same time, I got to remember that that is a signal to me to then go and enjoy and embrace the moments with Quinn. Go and enjoy the moments of coaching people and helping them express the best life that they can possibly have in health and fitness. Teach them what I know, pass on what I have, create some sort of legacy, have some sort of accomplishment in my life and desire and goal. And if I was to live forever, none of that would feel the same. None of that would mean that much, because what's the point in pushing yourself forward? What's the point if you know that tomorrow you'll be here and the day after that you'll be here and the day after that and there is no end? You would never get off the lounge. You would sit around doing sweet F all, really, and you would have no exposure to it, no contrast, no accomplishment, no other connection and emotion to the things that you were doing daily. And so I need to remind myself that, no, Shane, you don't want to live forever. You want to live a full life that others remember you for. One of my goals is to have, when I do pass, a funeral where everyone goes, at some point I had a conversation with Shane that I will never forget. At some point, I had a conversation with Shane that I won't forget that changed a certain part of my life and that changed me. And the fact that I had that conversation with Shane that changed me and changed a certain part of my life means that I can then go change others. I can pass on my interpretation of that conversation that I had with Shane. I can pass on a lesson that I might have thought was of good value onto my kids, onto my husband, onto my wife, onto my relatives, onto my friends. So I got to remember that if I didn't have an expiry date, if I was going to live forever, I probably wouldn't seek out conversations like that. I probably wouldn't take the time to make podcasts. I probably wouldn't do a lot of the things that I do because I'm here forever, right? If that was what it was, but it's not. And there is a time that will come and people will gather and they will remember the things that I did and they'll remember the things that I said. And I hope that every single one of them in that audience has something to remember me by, has something to go, you know what? The fact that I had that moment changed something for me, changed how I thought, how I felt, created a positive emotion. To the point, I'm sure there will be a whole bunch of people probably not in that audience that had an experience with me that was negative, but that is balance, that is life. There is a contrast of good and bad. There is an equal balance of good and bad. There is that. So not that I want to have negative connections with people, but it's going to happen. You can't just have all good. But at the same time, that is exactly what I've been trying to think to myself at the moment. I've been going, Shane, although there is this looming, doomy type feeling in the entire world at the moment of our own, thinking about our own mortality and whether or not we're going to live through this and how we're going to escape all this, and is this the time and is this not, all those thoughts and emotions that go through with living through a pandemic, a global pandemic, where you feel like you can't escape and you'll just have to experience it. Although that's there, you've got to remind yourself that life is not guaranteed and that you aren't going to live forever and that there's a reason for it. There's a reason why we pass away. And I've got to remember that it's about loving and teaching and leaving a legacy and having a connection. And there is a sense of urgency every single day for me to talk and connect to people and to do my best. And I do struggle with it. Like, I do struggle with following through all this stuff because I do forget that sometimes I might not get to speak another sentence, and sometimes I might not get to speak to another person at some points, or I might not get to do any of those things. And so I need to have fuller experiences. I need to have more focus with what I do in my day. I need to be more accomplished with my life, and I need to make sure that I remember those things. So that's what we're talking about today. That's what's going through my head. That's the conversation I wanted to have with myself. And I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think? Do you want to live forever? Am I wrong in thinking that? There's no right or wrong. But, do you think the opposing view? Do you think, Shane, if I was to live forever, I would change my life? And then I think, well, what's stopping you anyway? Like, if you would live a fuller life, why not live it when you have an expiry date that's approaching? We all do. And crazy to think about, but it is something that I have been thinking about and I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope this has been beneficial. And if you have any comments and you want to leave some feedback, please do so, because I love reading it and I love hearing from you guys, and it's a sign that you're listening and a sign to keep going with this stuff. So until next time, guys, keep having fun, and I will see you now in the gym.